But if you close your eyes,
good day, friends, and welcome to Season 2 of Pass It On. I'm your host, Andre Quattlebaum, better known as Coach Q. Here on the show, we will speak to the people who ultimately will speak with you to share insights on what they feel will help guide students or staff or community personnel in the right journey of success. So join us here weekly for the latest in criticism and discussion, featuring the biggest and relevant stories of students, representatives, teachers in our community. My guest today has an understanding of life skills as they relate to helping the young, and the need to restore good relationships when there has been conflict or harm. This wonderful person has expertise and a deep passion around bringing a great piloted program to our Anne Arundel County Public Schools. My guest has earned a Juris Doctorate from University of Maryland School of Law. Before joining our system, she directed the Mediation and Council Resolution Center for Howard County for 11 years. While there, she was awarded the Howard County Executive 2016 Volunteer Organization of the Year Award. We asked this great talent to come here today and discuss staff and pupil understandings and offer an exploration of the underpinning principles of restorative practice as it has developed thus far in our schools. We welcome Ms. Kathy Rockefeller. Welcome to the show, Ms. Rockefeller. As I always say, time is money. Can you explain to us what is the restorative practice program?
Restorative practices are a way of building community and establishing connection in our schools.
Okay.
And they're related to and sort of fall under the theoretical principles of restorative justice.
Okay.
And we are, to our knowledge, we're just the 4th public school district in the country to have created a position like mine at the district level to bring restorative practices to the schools.
How do schools benefit from an organization like yours?
So the second way they benefit is by being able to respond to harm in a way that's restorative. So if something happens, they call it a harm in restorative justice. It could be a candy theft,
Okay.
or it could be a punch.
Okay.
Right? It could be a lot of different things. It's a huge continuum. And if you use restorative practices to resolve it, it doesn't replace the code of discipline or the code of conduct, but it can be used complementary to that. So basically it's processes, mostly circles, that allow administrators to work with students to figure out why what they did mattered.
Okay.
And who it affected. That's what we don't do very well.
Right.
Who is affected? And we don't do it very well society-wise.
That's
we
true,
just
too.
sort of say, you did this, so you get this punishment. And instead, no one's asked to figure out who they actually harmed or why it mattered.
And also gives a kid an understanding on how they may have affected someone or have been affected by that type of situation.
Absolutely.
How do teachers get trained in RP?
So in Anne Arundel County, we have set up a system where teachers, and it's actually so far mostly administrators and non-teachers,
Okay.
because they usually have time to respond to discipline, and then now we're expanding it into teachers. But basically they take these trainings, and training A is a 3-hour training called Community Building Circles. Training B is using the 5 restorative questions. And training C is a 6-hour training on using circles in response to harm. So that level of training would really be for people who do discipline, whereas the community building circles is more for the teachers.
Absolutely.
And then there's also training D, E, and F, and G, but that's for the folks who are going to even kind of go further into this.
Okay. It seems like a lot to be underlining and undertaking as far as that is concerned. How is success measured through restorative practice? How do you know whether you're doing a good job or not doing an effective job?
Well, that's a tough question.
Okay.
And so you can answer it on two levels. One is sort of micro.
Okay.
You know that you're effective when you're there.
Absolutely.
When you're with the kids, when you're with the people. If a kid has harmed a teacher by maybe throwing over a desk, being angry, and then when they come back to school, they then have a repair the harm circle. The teacher can explain how they felt, the student can explain why that happened,
Okay.
and can offer a way to make things more right. So the student actually is face to face with the person that they harmed and can then re-enter community, so in an honorable way.
Okay.
Right? Instead of just, oh, we'll just put you back in that class.
Absolutely.
And we'll pretend like nothing
happened.
And everything will be fine.
We get that a lot in some jurisdictions and things of that nature. Briefly describe to us on what got you into this field.
So I was an attorney, a litigator, and I loved that sort of intellectual challenge and the argument and all that. But as I did it, I realized that I was having more and more trouble syncing head and heart. It didn't feel right to me anymore, even though I know it's part of a great system. It didn't feel right to me to help people fight each other.
Absolutely.
It felt so because of that, over a period of time, I became a mediator, and that felt a little more in sync, and I started getting into different conflict resolution practices, including mediation. And then I started to lead the nonprofit in Howard County, the Mediation and Conflict Resolution Center, MCRC, and we partnered with different community organizations. So one of the places that we partnered was the detention center.
Okay.
And I felt what we did was offer free quality mediation for people who were incarcerated, who were going to re-enter the community. So they were going to be out.
Right.
And instead of just, giving them bus money and saying good luck, we offered this
training
way to prepare.
Okay.
They could invite their family, friends, people they were going to be with on the outside to come in before they were released to make a plan about, well, what's it going to look like? Where am I going to live? What am I going to do? Will I have a car? How can we trust you again? Remember when you did this? So both sides got to talk and make a plan.
Okay.
And it increased the chance of success on the outside. And that was actually statistically proven by Community Mediation Maryland. So that was great work. But I was so discouraged because it would be like 19-year-old after 19-year-old after 19-year-old
Right.
there for the second, third time already. And I just felt like, if we could only get to them earlier and give them some conflict resolution skills. So that's why we started to partner with the Department of Juvenile Services and the Juvenile State's Attorney's Office. And we got to working with kids, providing restorative reflection about what happened and why it mattered.
Right,
I mean, this is the
absolutely.
whole thing, right? So after that, we said, we got to get them earlier. I hate that they have an arrest before they get to see us.
Mhm.
So we partnered with the Alternative Education Center in Howard County, which is where kids go after they have tapped out on the ladder of discipline in their home school.
Got you.
And that was Homewood Center. And the staff there took to it like a duck to water, and they were amazing. And the statistics showed it. The level of
Behaviors.
suspensions and referrals and dropouts all decreased dramatically. And
Okay.
community was built, the staff was happier, it felt different. And so I saw that, I saw it could work, and that became sort of my new passion.
Right.
We got to bring this to schools. So the next thing was comprehensive high schools, then middle schools, etc.
So that leads me to my next question. Why is it that, why do you think Anne Arundel County Public Schools decided to go restorative practice?
I think it's a nationwide move.
Okay.
It is a movement. It is something that is very much on the forefront
Okay.
of school climate and how we can better connect our kids. We're realizing that a lot of our kids are disconnected. You hear about suicides and harming others and bullying and even shooting up schools, and that comes from not feeling connected, can come from not feeling connected to your school.
Okay.
So people are realizing this nationwide, and it's a growing movement, restorative practices in schools. So that's why I think Anne Arundel decided to do it. It's a very progressive school system, particularly in their alt ed and school climate area. So this fits perfectly with the multi-tiered systems of support.
Okay. Lastly, how many schools are actually doing restorative practices, if you have that data?
Yeah, so good question. We have a lot of schools
Okay.
in Anne Arundel County, as you know. And I just started last year, and I'm one person, right? So what the plan is for me to go out, train, and then coach staff as they do it. So we have trained a lot of staff. We have a 5-year plan.
Okay.
And last year I had 17 schools, just middle and high schools and the alt-ed schools.
Okay.
This year we offered it to elementary schools that feed into that, and 24 out of 28
Really?
accepted.
Okay.
And we have trained their entire staffs. So I have 40 schools that have had some training, and they're doing it to some degree or another.
And you're doing this by yourself?
Well, the staff
Although,
and
I
the
mean,
schools doing
but
it now,
you
right?
actually have to go into those establishments and train those individuals
Yeah.
and build your actually program within that school jurisdiction.
Yeah, and
know?
try to figure out, because every school is such a different community. Every school is so different.
Okay.
And you try to figure out, how will it fit here? How will it be best established? What's its best chance of success?
Absolutely.
And then you start measuring eventually, which we will start measuring in the middle of this year. You start measuring, so are the referrals going down? Have the suspensions gone down? How many community building circles are they having? How many staff do they have trained? So you asked me about how we measure. Those are some
Okay,
ways to
those-
measure.
All right.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, can you tell the viewers how they can reach you and get more information about what you actually do outside of viewing this program?
Sure. So I'm Kathy Rockefeller, and you can reach me by email at krockefeller, ROCKEFELLER @aacps.org. Can I share one story?
Absolutely, you most
Okay,
can.
I really want to share a great story.
Go
This
ahead.
is an elementary school story. So one of our elementary schools, Hillsmere Elementary, had a second grade boy who was typical rambunctious second grade boy, and so you're talking an 8-year-old now,
Okay.
right? They had been doing community building circles at Hillsmere for maybe 2 weeks. Okay, it had just started. His bus was late. He and the people on the bus were waiting, and that is a time when there can be behavioral instances and
challenges.
problems for the teachers. And the teacher heard the boy say to his friends, "Let's have a community building circle,"
Really? An 8-year-old?
on his own. And together they found a talking piece, and they held a community building circle while they were waiting for their bus.
Awesome.
Right? So, I mean, this stuff is, the reason I threw my whole self into it is because it's natural, it's accessible and easy, and it's filling a hole.
And it makes it seem like it makes it feel self-worth to
Yep.
be able to engage in that type of
Yep.
atmosphere in that community circle.
Yep.
And you get feedback from each other, and it bounces off in a reflective type of piece and things
And
of
you
that
connect.
nature. And
You
you
connect
connect,
with
and that's the
different
most
people, yeah.
important
Yeah, yeah.
piece of that connection. We definitely like to thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming out and sharing that
My pleasure.
awesome information. And once again, she left you her information as how you can reach her. She's explained to us what restorative practice is, how many schools and things of that nature are involved. You're welcome to pass it on anytime you got anything else that's coming down the pipeline. Please let us know, and feel free to come onto the show and pass that information
Thanks for
along,
having
because
me.
as we indicated before, this show is about relevant information that actually enhance students and staff that are relevant. So
Thanks.
once again, we'd like to thank you for coming on and passing on.
Thanks. My
We'll be
pleasure.
right back with 3 more exciting guests that's going to pass along some more valuable information. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.